My name is Haoyu, I am 18 years old, and I live in a small village where birds do not shit, called Qingshi Village. The village is so damn that it is probably the ruins of the village. I heard that it was the site of a large sect a few hundred years ago, but now there are only a bunch of stone heads left, and there are no ghosts. I usually have nothing to do, so I like to run to the ruins, storm the money by breaking copper wires, and fantasize that one day I can dig out a treasure and become a big shot. That day, the sky was just dawn, and I walked towards the ruins with a hard tilt. The ruins were still the same, and the wind was full of dust, which made me cough. I flipped through several stone heads and found nothing. I was about to snail and leave when I suddenly made a click sound under my feet, as if I had broken something. I looked down and saw that a little girl broke open on the ground, and there was something in it that was flashing. Bored, is it money? My heart beat faster and I squatted down and pulled out the gravel. There was a sword buried under the gap, which was pitch black. The sword was covered with strange patterns, and a cold that could not be described was emitted. There was also a dark red gem on the handle of the sword, which looked like an eye, making my heart bleed. How much is this thing worth? I muttered in my mouth and reached out to grab the handle. As a result, when I touched my hand, a low voice suddenly exploded in my brain. Boy, don't be disturbed. I'm not something you can touch at will. I was so scared that I sat on the ground, my hands trembled, and there was no one around me. Who is talking? Don't be fooled. Blank, of course it's me. The voice sounded again, and I must have been sent out this time. I am the magical drama spirit. I have been sleeping for thousands of years and finally waited for you, a little bastard. Sword. Will the drama talk? My brain buzzed, feeling whether I was crazy. Who are you fooling? I think you want to cheat me and sell you. Selling? Who can afford me if you are so sour? Yanling sneered, his speech was full of discouragement. I heard it well, boy, you are the one chosen by heaven. You are destined to unravel the seal of ancient demons and become the dark beast. From today on, I will be your escort, bringing you to the peak of life. What? Magic? Slayer? I was stunned for a moment, without reacting at all. Don't joke, I'm just a broken man, how can I have any fate? Close your mouth, say nothing. The sword spirit slammed me impatiently. Now pick me up and drop a drop of blood on the sword, we will officially settle down. Otherwise, you don't even want to turn over. I hesitated for a moment and thought that if this thing really had a little bit of a secret, I might really change my fate. So he bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood on the sword. In an instant, a cold black air came out of the sword and diamonded into my body, causing me to almost scream. It's done! Yanling laughed, from now on, you are my master. Remember, my name is Shadow, don't forget this name. I hadn't had time to digest this pile of information yet, and suddenly a rapid horse hoof sound came from afar. I looked up and saw that the smoke was rolling in the village. More than a dozen men in black robes rushed over with Majiji, holding flashing weapons in their hands. Collection, what's going on? I felt nervous and hugged the sword tightly. Don't be stunned, run. Shadow's voice became quick, that's the killer of the elemental sect. I guess I felt my breath and came to sniff. Your life is not worth the money, so it's tight. Shut it. What's the matter with me? I replied, but I didn't stop, so I ran deep into the ruins. As a result, there was no more than a few steps, and there was an explosion from the village, and the flames shone into the sky, and there were still the villagers' calls. The village, what is wrong with the village? I stopped and my brain was blank. Don't look, the village is gone. Shadow said coldly, those guys have destroyed the entire village in order to capture you. If you want to survive, don't turn around, listen to me, and run to the forest to the west. I bit my teeth tightly and my eyes were hot, but I also knew that it was not the time to move. So he held the sword and ran towards the forest desperately. The sound of horse hoofs behind him was getting closer and closer, and several men in black robes shouted, "Don't let that boy run away." Snake in his hands. I was panting, My legs were almost broken, and I was about to be caught up. Suddenly, a man in black robes slapped over from the side, and the long knife in his hand slashed my brain. I instinctively slammed and barely hid, but my arm was still slashed and blood flowed. "Waste, what are you hiding, and you're going to fight back?" The shadow yelled anxiously, "Pick up the sword and feel my power." "Resistance? What are I going to fight?" "I won't fight." I shouted back in a hurry, but still subconsciously held the handle. At this moment, a cold energy flowed from the sword body into my arm and instantly spread throughout my body. There was suddenly a little strange memory in my brain, as if someone had forced in, all of which were about dark magic moves. "Slash him with the blade of darkness." The sound and visual command of the shadow came up. I didn't know where the courage came from, so I stood up suddenly and swung the man in black robe. A black drama flew out with a sharp slight sound, and directly slashed the guy and hit the tree, without any static at the scene. Bottle, am I fucking? I looked at my hands and my brain was blank. The force was so powerful that I didn't feel like I could use it. "Stop talking, there are 3 more to solve them," Shadow urged. The remaining man in black robe was stunned for a moment, but soon came back to his senses and roared over. I felt aroused, gritted my teeth and tightened my sword, and followed the memory in my brain to exhale a few more dramas. The dark air was shining and the trees were all blocked. The few guys did not react at all and were directly chopped to the ground, without even humming. Who? I held the sword, panting like a dog, my body trembling, but there was a sense of pleasure in my heart that I couldn't describe. At that moment, I felt that I was not the broken Haoyu, but a powerful person who could control everything. "Okay, boy, I'm a little talented." There was finally a little more approval in the shadow's voice, "but don't be proud, this is just the most basic dark magic. The masters of the elemental sect are still behind, so we have to run away." I slapped my head, sweating a lot, and was about to continue running, when the shrub next to me suddenly swayed and a figure came out. I felt nervous and prepared to start the game. "Don't misunderstand me, brother, I'm not an enemy." The man raised his hands tightly and smiled bitterly. He looked about the same age as me, wearing a torn cloth, and there were a few small bags hanging on his body, and there were bulging inside, as if something was covered. "Who are you? Are you fucking sneakily?" I browned, but the sword still didn't let go. "My name is Sufeng, and I was chased by the elemental sect." I just hid here and looked at it with great enthusiasm. He lit up his shoulders and pointed to the man in black robe on the ground. "You are so awesome, dark magic, right? I'll still see you." "Do you know the dark magic?" I was stunned, thinking that this guy was a little bit unsimple. "Of course, I have some research on elemental power." Sufeng grinned and took out a piece of glowing stone from the bag. "This is a magic crystal stone, which can increase elemental power. I guess your sword is not simple either. Why don't we join forces? A single fight won't last long." I hesitated for a moment and looked at the shadows. Yanling hummed, "This kid is a little bit of a secret, and he can trust it at a time. Working with him first will be better than running around alone." "Okay, cooperation." I pointed my head, carried the sword behind my back, and stretched out my hand at Sufeng, but I said, "You have to go up there if there is danger. I don't want to be chased and run around the mountains again." "No problem, brother." Sufeng laughed and held my hand. "Let's fight the bad guys of those sects together." There was another sound of horse hooves coming from afar, and more people were heard. Sufeng and I looked at each other, and without much conversation, we turned around and ran towards the deep forest. The sound of chasing behind me is getting closer and closer, but a fire ignited in my heart. This drama, this force, and this new brother around me, or maybe, this is the beginning of my life changing. Sufeng and I marched into the magic crystal forest, which is the most evil place around Qingshi village. I heard that there were fierce monsters and strange things, and ordinary people would probably not come out if they went in. However, I don't have to choose now. The pursuers of the elemental sect behind me were like dogskin cream and could not even be shaken off, so I could only push forward with my head hard. The light in the forest is dim, the trees are so high that they are dense that the sun cannot penetrate, and the air is filled with a cold and fishy smell. I held the magic sword on my back tightly, and I didn't dare to stop my pace, and my ears could hear the static surrounding me at any time. Su Feng walked in front of me, holding a small glowing stone in his hand, and muttered quietly as he walked, "There are many magic crystals here, but they are all guarded by magical beasts. We must be careful not to hit the wall." "What's the use of magic crystal stone?" I gasped, and after running for a long time, my legs were still a little soft. "Simply put, this thing can increase the power of elementals." Su Feng glanced back at me, and the small stone in his hand flashed with blue light. "Your sword should be of darkness. Finding a matching magic crystal can double your strength. However, the magic crystals deep in the forest are guarded by powerful magic crystals, so we have to deal with those beasts first." "Double?" My eyes lit up, and a burst of hope ignited in my heart. I just used dark magic to fuck a few men in black robe. Although I was so happy, I also felt that my foundation was too weak and I couldn't hold it back for a few times. If it can be stronger, I might be able to overcome those guys who chased me. "Stop dreaming, boy." The sound of the shadow sounded in my brain, carrying a sarcasm. "You only have 3-foot cat kung fu, and when you encounter the magic beast in the forest, you will probably be gnawed to the point of being gnawed. If you hear this, Su, find a low-level magic crystal stone to train first." I curled my lips, ignored it, and continued to follow Su Feng. After about half a minute of leaving, the forest became deeper and deeper, and the atmosphere around it became more and more distant. The trees were constantly coming to growl, and they heard my back swaying. Su Feng suddenly stopped, made a silent hand, and pointed to a clearing space in front of him. I looked in the direction of his finger. There was a black crystal as big as a fist in the middle of the open space. The surface was flashing with a faint light, and there was a faint darkness around it. A wolf-shaped demon lying beside the crystal stone, 3 times larger than an ordinary wolf, with dark gray fur, red light in his eyes, and saliva dripping in his mouth, which looked not easy to mess with. "That's a shadow wolf, a low-level demon, but it's so fast that it can tear the iron armor apart." Su Feng said in a low voice, his face was a bit solemn, "That magic crystal is of darkness, just right for you. But this guy is not easy to deal with, we need a plan." "Plan? Isn't it just a wolf? Isn't it enough to just fuck me?" I lowered my voice, tightened the handle, and felt a little urge to try. That battle just now made me feel a little bit over, and I felt that I was not completely gone. "Stir," said the shadow without any worries. "Do you think the demon is the same as the wild dog in your village? This thing can sense the power of darkness, and you wake up as soon as you get close to it. Don't come around if you hear that, boy." Su Feng pointed his head, took out a red stone from the bag, and said in a low voice, "I used the flame stone to open it. You can take advantage of the opportunity to sneak it. Remember, aim at its neck, and kill it if you hit it, otherwise we have to explain this." I gritted my teeth and clicked. Su Feng took a deep breath, and a group of fire suddenly burst out from the flame stone in his hand, smashing towards the tree next to the shadow wolf. With a bang, the flames exploded and the trees burned. Shadow Wolf suddenly raised his head, let out a low growl, his red eyes stared at the direction of the fire, and then rushed over with a quick step. "Just now!" Su Feng shouted softly, and my cat erected his waist towards the magic crystal, while holding the handle tightly, ready to move at any time. But just as I was about to touch the crystal, the shadow wolf suddenly turned over, as if he had sensed something. His red eyes locked me straight, let out a harsh roar, and then rushed towards me at a terrifying speed. Bottle, so fast. I was shocked, and my body slammed, barely avoiding its claws, but a blood mark on my arm was still scratched, and I was so painful that I sucked in the cold air. "Wait, are you fucking me in a daze? Use the dark blade." The shadow roared anxiously. I bit my teeth tightly, and my hands were shaking, but I still stood up hard and slapped the shadow wolf. A black drama flew out and headed straight for its brain with a broken sound. But the beast reacted quickly and was flashing, and the air only wiped its fur, leaving a clean wound. Roar! Shadow Wolf was irritated, roared and rushed towards me again, carrying cold light in her claws and headed straight to my chest. I couldn't react at all. I was about to be torn apart when a fire suddenly shot from the side, hitting the side of the Shadow Wolf, making it scream and slammed and fell to the ground. Haoyu, hurry up, neck! Su Feng's voice came from behind, and he was holding another flame stone in his hand. My brain was hot, and took advantage of the Shadow Wolf's piercing air, and suddenly rushed over, holding the sword in both hands, slashing it hard at its neck. This time, the black air directly penetrated its flesh and blood, and the blood sprayed all over me. The Shadow Wolf let out a wail, twitched for a few seconds, and finally lost its static. Who? I held the sword, panting like a dog, my body was soaked with sweat and blood, and my legs were almost kneeling down. Good job, brother. Su Feng ran over, patted my shoulder, and grinned, you are so talented when you hit the magician for the first time. Don't tell me, I'm almost dead. I smiled bitterly and slammed my head, walked to the magic crystal stone, and reached out to pick it up. When I bought the crystal, there seemed to be a force flowing inside, which rolled my fingers into my body, making me feel refreshed. Press the crystal on the sword and absorb its power. The sound of the shadow sounded, carrying a burst of expectation. I did as I did and put the magic crystal on the sword. In an instant, a black air burst out from the crystal stone and flowed into my body along the sword. I felt that the muscles in my body were being swept a little open, and the strength was stronger than before. Although it is not awesome, at least it makes me feel like I have a sensation of fetal and bone replacement. Can the groove, is this stronger? I clenched my fists and grinned. A few more stones, can I just go over the sex of those sects? Don't dream, just absorb a piece of it. Shadow snorted coldly, this is just the most basic dark magic crystal, which will make you penetrate the door. The real power is still far away. Okay, don't hit people. Su Feng laughed and patted me on the shoulder, but your sword is not simple, and the speed of absorbing magic crystals is faster than any elemental weapon I have ever seen. Let's look for a few more blocks, and maybe you can really do something big. I clicked my head and a fire ignited in my heart. Although that battle was just now, it also gave me some confidence in my strength. I have to calculate the revenge of the village, the guys who chased me. But at this moment, a sneer suddenly came from deep in the forest. I heard my back silence. Su Feng and I turned around at the same time, looking alertly in the direction where the sound came. Ha, two little fish are really capable, they can actually fuck a shadow wolf. A young man in a black robe walked out of the tree shadow, with a mocking smile on his face, holding a long sword with blue light in his hand, and a strong sense of pressure radiated from his body. Following him were several men in black robes, and they were not weak in temperament. Who are you? Are you messing with ghosts? I snatched my eyebrows and tightened the sword, believing that this guy was not simple. I'll introduce myself. My name is Jahan, the young master of the elemental sect. He sneered, his eyes swept over the magic sword in my hand, and a flash of greed in his eyes. I heard that a sour boy had picked up the taboo sword, but I didn't expect that I would really hit me. If I handed over the sword, I might be able to save you a life. Young master? Is this kind of virtue still the young master? I gritted my teeth and the fire in my heart was suddenly ignited. The village's situation is still in my brain, and I want to tear all these sectarian dog things apart. Have you been stubborn? Jahan snorted coldly, and the blue light sword in his hand suddenly burst out with a cold breath and shook me. An ice blade shot towards me in an instant, so fast that I couldn't react at all. Be careful. Su Feng shouted loudly and threw out a flame stone. The flames collided with the ice blade, and a fog of water exploded, barely holding the attack. There is also a small shattered slap, and the elemental stone is very good. Jahan glanced at Su Feng, his temperament was full of contempt. But with this skill, you dare to jump in front of me? Haoyu, right? A broken garbage is worthy of a taboo drama? A joke? Trump? Who are you talking about, garbage? My eyes were so angry that my eyes were red. My brain was full of burnt pictures of the village, and the screams of the villagers. This self-righteous guy, I wish I could chop him now. Are you angry? Unfortunately, you can't save your life even if you are angry. Jahan sneered, and the long sword in his hand rushed again. This time, there were 3 ice blades, heading straight for me. Haoyu, hide! Su Feng shouted anxiously, but I had no intention of hiding at all. The anger in my brain made me lose my mind. I held the magic sword tightly and heard the shadows roar, use the wrath of darkness to explode your power. A cold black air flowed into my body from the sword body. I felt the blood in my body boiling, and the power suddenly surged. I growled and slashed out a sword against the 3 ice blades. The black drama burst out like a torrent, tearing the ice blade to pieces, and the remaining strength was not reduced, and heading straight for Jahan. What? Jahan's face changed. He obviously didn't expect that I could explode this power. He pushed the sword to slam it, but he was still shocked by the sword and took a few steps back, and a silk of blood came out of the corner of his mouth. Young master. The man in black robe next to him was shocked and rushed over to protect him. Bored, beautifully done. Su Feng was also stunned for a moment, then shouted, giving me a thumbs up. I gasped and my body was shaking. The blow had almost squeezed out my strength, but looking at Jahan's wolf-like appearance, I felt so happy. It turns out that such a self-righteous guy who put on a face can really make people slaughter. Damn it, you dare to hurt me. Jahan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes as cold as a poisonous snake. I won't kill you today, I will not be a human being. Kill me? I'm sorry for your ability. I gritted my teeth and snatched my teeth, not convinced, but I also knew in my heart that my condition was not good, and that just now was extremely limited. Haoyu, don't be snatched hard, let's run. Su Feng said in a low voice, and at the same time took out a few flame stones from the bag and prepared for any time. Run? Can you run? Jahan sneered, and was about to order a chase. Suddenly, a low roar came from the deep forest, like a huge demon being shocked. Lien Jahan's face changed for a moment, he glanced at the direction of the sound, then gritted his teeth and said, Are you going? I've recorded this note. I'll see you next time, I want you to kneel down and beg for a favor. After saying that, he quickly retreated with a few men in black robe, obviously not wanting to collide with the unknown demon. This guy has been curled. I held the sword and almost stood firm. Su Feng held me tightly. Brother, you're so awesome that just now. Even the young master of the sect is eating the badge. Su Feng grinned, but his face turned right, but we have to go away too tightly. The roar was not simple, and it was probably a stronger demon that was shocked. I clicked the head, and although there was still a fire in my heart, I also knew that it was not the time to move. Holding the magic crystal in my hand tightly, I felt the new power, and gritted my teeth and swore secretly, Jahan, there is also the elemental sect, I have remembered this hatred. One day, I will make you all pay for the price. The roar from afar was getting closer and closer. Su Feng and I looked at each other, quickly turned around, and ran towards the other side of the forest. The crisis behind me has not been resolved, but a flame of revenge has ignited in my heart, and it cannot be extinguished no matter how hard it is. Su Feng and I ran around in the magic crystal forest, and finally weaved the terrifying roar. The smoke deep in the forest became more and more heavy, and the road under the feet became more and more difficult, and there was an indescribable sense of pressure in the air. I was carrying a magic sword on my back, and I was still slugging the wounds left by fighting with the shadow wolf. Every step I took was so painful that I was so painful. Brother, hold on, the place I said in front of me. Su Feng walked in front, holding a small glowing stone in his hand, and grinned at me. Old Lin Lang is an unknown master, and he knows more things than the entire elemental sect. If he is willing to help you, you can dig out the potential power of the sect in full. Lin Lang? It sounds like a bad guy. What can I do? I gasped and complained, but I still had a lot of expectations in my heart. After all, I now have nothing but this scoundrel that I can say, so I always have to find a backer. Don't underestimate people. I was also guided by him back then. The voice of the shadow was heard in my brain, with a little bit of seriousness. I admire this old man's understanding of dark magic. Don't miss him. I curled my lips, said nothing, and continued to follow Su Feng forward. After walking for about a while, a clearing suddenly appeared in front of me. There was an old stone house in the middle of the open space. The roof was covered with moss, and there were some strange grass medicines around it, which emitted a pungent smell. In front of the house was an old man wearing a long gray robe, gray hair, half-closed eyes, and holding a curved wooden stick in his hand, looking no different from an ordinary villager. "Yi, Su Feng, are you going to ask me for trouble again?" The old man opened his eyes quietly, and he glanced at me with a sound of sand, with an indescribable spike in his eyes. "Lin Lang, this is my brother Haoyu." Su Feng smiled and patted my shoulder. "He has swung the insignificant sword, and is now being chased by the elemental sect to run the world. Do you always know more about it? Can you please give me some advice?" Lin Lang hummed, stood up, walked up to me with a wooden stick, looked me up and down, and then his eyes fell on the magic sword on my back. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, as if he had seen something strange, muttering in his mouth, "The power of darkness. Could this breath be that taboo sword?" "Old man, do you know this drama?" I was stunned, and I was a little surprised. "Wind, I have lived for so many years, what have I seen?" Lin Lang sneered and knocked on the wooden stick. "This drama is the key to sealing ancient demons 1,000 years ago. The dark magic contained in it can destroy the sky and earth, and swallow the master. Boy, you can hold it without being retaliated, you are a little bit of aura." "Swallow the master?" I felt a tight heart in my heart and glanced at the dark red stone on the handle of the skeleton, always feeling like an eye, staring at me secretly. "Don't be scared, Lin Lang." The sound of the shadow was sent out from the drama, and his language was a little unhappy. "This kid is my master, and you can't get enough comments. 1. The swordsman is still a good supporter." Lin Lang raised his eyebrows and looked at me, "But I have to remind you that dark magic is a taboo power. If you don't play well, you will be able to take yourself in. If you want to survive or seek revenge, you have to learn to control it." "Revenge?" I gritted my teeth and flashed the burned image of the village in my brain, and Jahan's face that deserved to be beaten. "Old, teach me, I can endure any hardship." Lin Lang stared at me for a while, and finally pointed, "Okay, I'm a little bit crazy. Come into the house, I'll tell you the coming of the dark magic first, and the secret of your sword." Su Feng and I followed Lin Lang into the stone house. The house was in a mess, and there were broken books and strange utensils, and there were a few shining magic crystal stones piled up in the corners of the wall. Lin Lang sat down, signaled us to sit as well, and then started to speak. "Dark magic originated from the evil spirits that were 1,000 years ago." Lin Lang's voice was low, like a story. "At that time, ancient demons were rushing to the vast land, elemental power was out of control, and humans were almost slaughtered. Finally, a genius created this magic sword, sealed the strongest demon with the power of darkness, and brought it into the secret nest. But this power was too dangerous. If used too much, it would invade the mind. Even the genius could not escape the backlash and turned into a pile of dead bones. Since then, dark magic has become a taboo. Who will touch, who will fall?" I felt so angry that I couldn't help asking, "Then what should I do? I've settled on this drama, so I can't throw it away, right? Take it? You can't live even if you throw it away." Lin Lang sneered and knocked on the table. "The elemental sect chased you because they were afraid that the power of this sword would be out of control and awaken the ancient demons. They were eager to destroy your sword together. Your only way out is to control this force and let it be used by you." "Control?" I clenched my fists and a fire ignited in my heart. "Then teach me, I will definitely learn it." Lin Lang clicked his head, stood up, took out a huge black magic crystal from the corner of the wall, and put it in front of me. "This is a high-quality dark magic crystal. The power inside can allow you to break through the limit, but it may also swallow you directly. Today, I will teach you a high-level dark magic dark pulse, which can instantly explode 10 times of power, but the price is that your will must be strong, otherwise you will be swallowed by the darkness and become immobile dead. 10 times the strength? My eyes lit up, and my heart beat faster. This move is so awesome to just hear the name. If I learn it, wouldn't Jahan's goods be instantly defeated by me? Don't be a dream, boy, this trick is not something you can do. The Shadow's voice sounded, with a warning. I've seen many people try to master high-level dark magic, but they all end up being crazy. If you don't have this understanding, don't touch it. It's just crazy, what am I afraid of? I gritted my teeth, and there was only one thought in my heart: to become stronger, to take revenge. Old man, come on, how do you practice? Lin Lang didn't say anything anymore, let me sit down with my legs, put my hands on the black magic crystal, and then began to teach me how to speak and exercise. With his guidance, I closed my eyes and felt the cold dark force in the magic crystal, like countless poisonous snakes, diamonding my arms into my body, instantly making my whole body cold, and my brain was full of all kinds of negative emotions: anger, fear, and hope, as if someone had played a horror movie on my brain. Concentrate, don't be controlled by it. Lin Lang's voice sounded in my ears, like a remote echo. The power of darkness is best at invading will. If you surrender, it will win. I bit my teeth and my brain was full of the village's tummy, and Jahan's ridiculous face. These pictures made the fire in my heart stronger and stronger. I growled, I won't send you this broken thing. Give me a roll. With this roar, I felt the dark force in my body suddenly being suppressed, as if I was holding it away. Lin Lang's voice was filled with surprise. No, boy, his willpower is stronger than I think. Continue and guide this force into the sword and release it. I followed him, gritted my teeth and led the cold dark force toward the magic sword. The sword began to shake and low birds appeared. The black air burst out from the sword, instantly shattering the tables and chairs in the room, and even a few cracks were drawn across the walls. I suddenly opened my eyes, and when I waved a sword outside the house, a huge black slamming wave shot out, directly splitting a large tree far away into 2.5, and the broken wood flew into the sky. Who? I held the sword, panting like a dog, and my body was shaking, but my heart was so happy. This power is simply strong and powerful. Bog, Haoyu, you're so fierce. Su Feng was stunned and patted my shoulder. Who dares to mess with you if you continue this move? Don't be too excited too early. Lin Lang coldly swept the basin of cold water, his face a little solemn. You were almost retaliated. If it weren't for the willpower, you would have been a waste now. Although this secret shock is strong, it is like dancing on the tip of a knife every time you use it. Remember, it's not about life and death, so don't use it. I was a little bit scared, but I was more excited. This power is my strong hope and my trump card for revenge. But at this moment, a sudden sound of horse hooves came from outside the house, and the sound of weapons colliding. Lin Lang's face changed. She stood up and walked to the door, looked out, and snorted coldly. The dog nose of the elemental sect is really spiritual, so I'll be here soon. Su Feng and I also rushed to the door and saw only smoke rolling everywhere. More than a dozen men wearing black robes came over. The leader was Jahan, holding the blue light sword in his hand and sneering on his face. His spirit was stronger than when we met last time. Lin Lang, old ghost, hidden deep. Jahan stopped the horse and shouted far away, I heard that you have taken over a small mess with the Taboo drama. Today I want to see what kind of waves you can find. Hand over the people, otherwise this broken house will burn you together. Boil me? Just hate you, a little boy. Lin Lang sneered, stood straight with a wooden stick, and a strong aura emanated from his body. Your father had to scream when he saw me that year. What are you? Old guy, are you stubborn? John's face darkened and he snatched his hand. Give me a chance to catch this old ghost and that kid. I'm going to live. More than a dozen men in black robe immediately got off the horse, and rushed over with weapons in their hands. Some even threw out a few elemental stones, and the flames and ice blades intertwined and smashed them at us. Su Feng gritted his teeth, took out a few flame stones from the bag, threw them out and exploded a fire curtain, and reluctantly suppressed the first wave of attacks. Haoyu, we can't hold on to so many people, what should we do? Su Feng gasped, his face a little difficult to see. You have to be on the top even if you can't hold it. I bit my teeth tightly and tightened the magic sword, and a fire ignited in my heart. Lin Lang just taught me so much and helped me to unravel the secrets of dark magic. How could I let him be bullied by these guys? Old, you back off, I'll come. Boy, don't show off. Lin Lang browed, but looking at the determination in my eyes, he didn't say anything else. He just stepped aside and prepared to respond at any time. I took a deep breath and recalled the feeling I had just been practicing, and the dark power in my body boiled again. I growled, lifted the sword, and slapped the man in black robe who was thrusting. Can't be shocked. In an instant, a huge black storm burst out from the sword, like a black torrent, swallowing the few black-robed men in front of them. They were shocked before they could even scream, and they fell to the ground without any silence. The storm of the waves also swept past the trees beside them, and the trees collapsed in chunks, making the scene look amazing. Boke, what's the ghost? The remaining man in black robe was stunned for a moment, his feet stopped, and his face was full of shock. Is this the power of dark magic? Shahan was also stunned, his face turned blue, obviously he didn't expect that I could explode such an attack. Haoyu, it's awesome! Su Feng shouted, and while the enemy was stunned, he threw out several flame stones, which made several men in black robe hold their heads and slapped them. I gasped and my body was shaking. Just then, the blow squeezed my strength again, and there was still a stinging sensation in my brain, as if the power of darkness was trying to retaliate. But looking at Jahan's face, I forced myself to fall down and gritted my teeth and shouted, Jahan, if you have something to go on your own, what's the ability to hide behind? Damn it! Jahan's face was so angry that his face was twisted. The blue light sword in his hand burst out with a cold breath, which seemed to be ready to take action. I will let you know today, what is the sky and the earth are thick. He slammed and several huge ice blades shot towards me, their speed and strength were twice as strong as last time. I bit my teeth and knew that my condition was not good, but I still held the plan and prepared to use the crypto shock again. But at this moment, Lin Lang suddenly stomped his wooden stick, and an invisible barrier appeared in front of me, holding the ice blade. I'm not dead yet. You guys can't be like a little boy. Lin Lang snorted coldly, and a strong aura burst out from his body, forcing Jahan to take a step back. Old ghost, you! Jahan gritted his teeth, his face becoming more difficult to see, but he obviously did not dare to act rashly. Come on, I'm in a good mood today, I'll give you a life. Lin Lang said coldly, his eyes as sharp as a knife, if you don't leave, don't blame me for being rude. Jahan glared at me fiercely, obviously unwilling to give up, but he also knew that he would not be able to get a cheap price today. He gritted his teeth and said, Haoyu, I have recorded this account, let's take a look. After saying that, he swung his hand and quickly retreated with the remaining man in black robe, and his horse's hooves kept moving away. Who? I finally couldn't hold back and knelt on the ground with my sword, my body covered in sweat. It was just that blow, although it was awesome, but it also made me realize that there was still a big gap between myself and a real strong man. Boy, you did a good job. Lin Lang walked to me and smiled rarely, it can protect me and show that you are a little conscience. Although that trick was just strong, it was also considered to be in the door. Old, thank you. I grinned. Although I was so tired, I felt a sense of satisfaction that I couldn't say. It feels better than anything else to be able to protect important people with your own strength. Don't thank me, the road is still long. Lin Lang snorted and turned back to the house. Jahan is not good at ease. Next, we have to prepare for greater trouble. Su Feng and I looked at each other. Although we knew that the crisis had not been lifted, a fighting spirit ignited in our hearts. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, I have to become stronger, protect the people around me, and step on those who have hurt me. Far away, there was another deep roar from the forest, as if something was shocked. I held the magic sword tightly and my eyes became more stable. Whether it is a demon or a sect, I, Haoyu, will never retreat. Su Feng and I followed Lin Wan's guidance and left the old stone house and advanced all the way to the deepest point of the magic crystal forest. Lin Lang said that the last high-purity dark magic crystal is hidden in the Forbidden Land deep in the forest. As long as I can absorb its power, the potential of the magic sword can be fully released, and my power will also rise to a new level. However, he also warned me that the place was the edge of the ancient magic seal, and the level of danger was not comparable before, so he might have lost his life. Haoyu, there is a forbidden place in front of you. Are you ready? Su Feng walked in front, holding a small glowing stone in his hand, and grinned at me. There were several small bags hanging on him, filled with various elemental stones, and it seemed that he could throw out several ultimate moves at any time. Are you ready for a while? Can you still fall off? I curled my lips, and the magical drama on my back moved slightly, as if I could sense something. The sound of the shadow sounded in my brain, boy, don't be careless. The dark power here is so heavy that I feel a little uneasy. Be careful when I'll stop being swallowed. Swallow me? I'm very hard. I was so angry, but my heart was actually a little tired. After all, Lin Lang said that the Forbidden Land not only has powerful demon guarding, but also the ancient demon's will. If you are not careful, you may be damaged by both souls. The forest became deeper and deeper, the light was almost completely blocked by the dense crown, and there was a pungent smell of rotten smell in the air, and the ground under the feet became sticky, as if stepping on a swamp. A low roar was heard from afar, and I heard my back swaying. I hold the handle tightly and prepare for sudden situations at any time. After about 2 hours of leaving, a strange open space finally appeared in front of me. A huge black stone tablet stood in the middle of the open space, with ancient runes engraved on it, emitting a strong dark air. There were no gaps in the ground around the stone tablet, and there was a black air in the gap, as if something was about to move below. At the top of the stone tablet, a dark magic crystal that was the size of a fist floated. It was pitch black all over, and it looked like a slim hidden inside. Just a glance made people's skin numb. Both, is this the last magic crystal? I swallowed, my heart beat faster, and I felt the dark power in my body was restless, as if I was attracted by the crystal. It's right, this thing has a higher pristineness than all the magic crystals I've ever seen. Su Feng narrowed his eyes, his face slightly solemn. However, the magic that guards it is probably not simple, so we have to think about how to get close first. But before we could discuss a plan, the forest of trees next to the stone tablet suddenly swayed, and several figures in black robes walked out. The leader was Jahan, holding the blue light sword in his hand, a cold smile on his face, and a few strong subordinates followed behind him. They obviously had arrived for a long time, and there were a few strange instruments next to them, as if they were preparing for some ritual. Yi, Haoyu, it's you again. Jahan glanced at me, his lingering was full of ridicule. I thought you had been gnawed clean by the demons in the forest long ago, and I didn't expect to jump here. Jahan, your mother is still so dying. I clenched my teeth, my brain full of pictures of the village being burned, and there were also these guys who were picking their faces again and again, and I wish I could rush up and chop him now. The soul is not dissipating? I'm a joke. This place was discovered first. Jahan sneered and pointed to the dark magic crystal. The power of this crystal is enough to awaken part of the will of the ancient magical beasts. As long as I control it, the entire vast land must kneel under my feet. Are you too garbage worthy of snatching me? Wake up the demon? You're crazy. Su Feng browsed, and there was a burst of anger in his voice. If the ancient demon was resurrected, the entire capital would be ruined. Do you think you could control that monster? Control? No need to control. Jahan snorted coldly, with a flash of crazy eyes flashing. I just need to use its power to wipe out all of your eye-catching guys. Haoyu, hand over your sword, I may make you die happily. Thank you. I opened my arms and held the magic sword tightly. The dark power in my body began to boil. I will let you know today, who is garbage. Hard-mouthed, right? Then let's see if you have the last chance to survive. Jahan sneered and slapped his hand. Several men in black robe behind him immediately rushed over. The weapons and elemental stones in his hand moved, and the firelight, ice blades, and thunder and electricity formed an attack network, heading straight for us. Haoyu, don't force yourself, hide first. Su Feng shouted loudly, took out a few flame stones from the bag, threw them out and exploded a fire curtain, and reluctantly suppressed the first wave of attacks. I gritted my teeth and slammed, dodged an ice blade, and at the same time heard the shadows roar, used the dark blade to tear off their defense. I growled and slapped the sword. Several black dramas flew out, slashing directly at the men in black robe in front with the broken sound. They couldn't react in time and were directly flying by the sword. They fell to the ground and hummed without even a single sound. But with more attacks, I couldn't breathe at all, so I could only dodge and counterattack. I was quickly scratched and blood flowed out. Haoyu, then. Su Feng suddenly threw a blue elemental stone and shouted, "This is a water elemental stone that can quickly increase your speed, rush over, don't be surrounded." I caught the stone and felt a clear force dripping into my body. The speed under my feet was indeed faster. I gritted my teeth and rushed out of the circle, heading straight towards Jahan, with only one thought in my heart: to fuck this guy and return to the magic crystal stone. "Wanna get close to me? Be a dream." Jahan sneered, and the blue light sword in his hand burst out with a cold breath, and waved at me. Several huge ice blades shot in, so fast that I could hardly hide. I was squeezing my sword, but I was still shocked by the waves and almost vomited blood. "Waste, even with this ability, dare to challenge me?" Jahan looked at me mockingly, and the long sword in his hand slammed again. This time, a piece of ice fog covered it, directly sank the ground around me. My steps were instantly slowed down and my movements became difficult. "Haoyu, use the flame stone to break the ice." Su Feng's voice came from behind, and at the same time, several groups of firelights exploded towards me, barely melting some of the ice layer. I took advantage of the opportunity to take it off, but my heart became more and more anxious. Jahan's strength is more than the previous one. If he continues to drag on, Su Feng and I have to explain this. "Boy, don't hesitate, use the claw attack." The Shadow's voice yelled in my brain, "This guy's defense is not broken, you don't have a chance to touch the magic crystal. Fight it, otherwise you will be completely done." I clenched my teeth and knew the Shadow was right. Although the price of secret shock is quite expensive, it is not the time to feel sorry for yourself. I took a deep breath, and the power of darkness in my body stormed wildly, and my brain was full of negative emotions, anger, hatred, and fear hindering my will like a flood. I growled, suppressing these emotions and gathering all my strength into the sword. "Jahan, go and die." I suddenly snatched and slapped Jahan hard. A huge black wave burst out from the sword, like a black torrent, heading straight for Jahan with the power of destruction. The surrounding ground was shattered, and the trees collapsed in patches, making the atmosphere scary. "What?" Jahan's face changed. He obviously didn't expect that I could explode such an attack. He pushed the slats and at the same time, several black-robed men threw out elemental stones and tried to structure the defense line. But the power of the secret pulse was not something they could do at all. The black torrent directly tore the ice layer and defense line. Several men in black robe were shocked and vomited blood and fell to the ground. Lien Jahan was hit by the shock wave. The long sword flew out, and the whole man fell to the ground with a wolf, with blood pouring out from the corner of his mouth. "Bottle, beautifully done." Su Feng shouted, and threw out a few flame stones while the rest of the man in black robe hugged the rat. The scene was completely suppressed by us for a while. I gasped and my body was shaking. The blow had almost dried up my strength, and there was still a stinging sensation in my brain, as if the power of darkness was trying to retaliate. But looking at Jahan's wolf-like look, I felt so happy. It turns out that trampling this self-righteous guy under his feet can really make people slaughter. "Damn it, you dare to hurt me." Jahan stood up with a slight face and his eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. I won't kill you today, I will not be a human being. Kill me? I'm sorry for your ability. I gritted my teeth and snatched my teeth, not convinced, but I also knew in my heart that my condition was not good, and that just now was extremely limited. Haoyu, don't waste your time, get the magic crystal stone. Su Feng shouted urgently, and threw out several thunderstones at the same time, forcing a few men in black robe to get away from the test picture to fight me for time. I clicked my head, dragged my shaking legs towards the stone tablet, and reached out to grab the dark magic crystal. But at this moment, Jahan suddenly sneered, took out a piece of strange blue crystal from it, and smashed it hard on the ground. In an instant, a powerful force of frost exploded, and the ground was instantly destroyed, and countless ice thorns burst out from the ground and headed straight for me. Be careful. Su Feng shouted, but I couldn't react at all. I was about to be pierced by the ice thorn. Suddenly, a black air burst out from the magic sword, shattering the ice thorn. The sound of the shadow sounded in my brain, waste, get the crystal, don't be stunned. I gritted my teeth and finally grabbed the dark magic crystal. When I bought the crystal stone, there seemed to be an incredible amount of purity inside, which dripped into my body through my fingers, which shocked my whole body and almost stood unstable. But at the same time, an unprecedented force also swelled in my body, as if I had opened my muscles. Press the crystal on the scorpion and absorb it. Shadow said hurriedly, with a burst of excitement in the sound. I did as I did and put the magic crystal on the sword. In an instant, a heavy black air burst out from the crystal and flowed into my body through the sword. I felt that the muscles in my body were being swept open, and my strength was more than twice as strong as before. The negative emotions in my brain were even stronger, but I gritted my teeth and squeezed my backlash. When the black air was completely integrated into my body, I suddenly opened my eyes and felt like I was stolen from the fetus and bones, and my body was filled with strength. Both groove, is this the real power of darkness? I clenched my fists and grinned, feeling that I could cross the mountains and rivers with just one blow from my hand. The dark red gems on the magic drama also flashed with a stronger light, as if they recognized my growth. Haoyu, it's awesome. Su Feng ran over and patted my shoulder, with surprise on his face. I guess even Jahan must kneel down with such strength. Kneel? It's already early. Jahan stood up with a stinging wolf, but there was a bit of crazy in his eyes. Haoyu, do you think you won after taking the magic crystal? I tell you, this is just the beginning. Some of the will of the ancient demons have been awakened by me, and I will swallow you all. Wake up? What are your mother saying? I bowed and felt inconsistent. At this moment, the ground under the stone tablet suddenly blew violently, and the black air burst out from the gap, accompanied by a low roar, as if something terrifying was awakening. Ha ha, did you hear it? This is the roar of ancient demons. Jahan laughed loudly, his face twisted. You just wait for it to be torn apart. We'll have a chance in the future. After saying that, he swung his hand and quickly retreated with the remaining men in black robes, as if he knew something even more terrifying would appear next. Su Feng and I looked at each other and their faces were not very good. The ground was getting stronger and stronger, and the darkness had already covered the entire open space, and the pressure in the air made people breathless. Haoyu, we have to run away too. Su Feng gritted his teeth and took out a few thunderstone from the bag. After preparing, if this place is not incompatible, I guess I'm really frustrated by that guy. Running, I'm just getting stronger, what are you afraid of? I was so angry, but I also knew in my heart that this breath was not something I could fight against now. The sound of the shadow sounded, carrying a rare solemnity. Boy, I heard him. The will of the ancient demons cannot be touched by you. After absorbing the magic crystal, you have completed your goal. Don't waste your life here. I bit my teeth tightly, although I was unwilling to give up, but I also knew that it was not the time to move. So he turned around with Su Feng and ran out of the forbidden place. The roar behind me was getting closer and closer, and the black air chased us like a flood, almost swallowing us. Haoyu, use your new power to open the way. Su Feng shouted, throwing out several flame stones at the same time, blowing a fire, barely holding back the invasion of the black air. I growled and lifted the magic sword. The new power in my body rushed wildly. A stronger black sword slashed out, directly slashing the forest in front of me. We took the opportunity to accelerate and finally broke out of the black encirclement circle, ran out of the forbidden place for a long time, and stopped panting. What a ghost thing is this, mother? I held the sword, panting like a dog. My body was wet with sweat, but I felt a sense of pleasure in my heart that I couldn't describe. The real violence after absorbing the magic crystal stone gave me new confidence in my strength. Haoyu, you are so awesome this time. Su Feng grinned and patted my shoulder. Yin Jahan was so stressed by you that he couldn't lift his head. With this new power, he could just leave. Don't tell me. Jahan ran away. The trouble is not over. I looked at the direction of the forbidden land, and the black air from the distance was still rolling. Although the roar was far away, it still made people's hearts palpitations. What does awaken will mean by that guy Jahan? I always think that a bigger crisis is still behind. No matter what, let's go back to Lin Lang first and tell him about this. Su Feng put away his smile, his face a little solemn. The ancient demons are probably more complicated than we think. I clicked the head, held the magic sword tightly, and felt the new power gained in my body. Although the violence of force greatly increased my confidence, Jahan's escape was like a stone pressing on my heart. No matter how dangerous the road ahead is, I will become stronger, report all the revenge and step on all the dangers. Far away, the darkness of the forbidden land seemed to be filled with another point, and around the corner, you could still hear a low voice, as if some ancient existence was opening his eyes. Su Feng and I looked at each other, and stopped talking, and quickly ran towards Lin Lang's stone house. The crisis has not ended yet, but my fighting spirit is stronger than ever. Su Feng and I ran all the way, and finally returned to Lin Lang's stone house, revealing all the things that happened in the forbidden place. After Lin Lang finished listening, his face was as deep as the sky before the storm. The wooden stick in his hand hit the ground hard and said, Jahan is really brave enough to come, awaken the will of ancient demons and simply dig the tomb. This matter cannot be delayed. Haoyu, although your power is surging, it is not stable yet. You must immediately go to the giant beast nest to prevent the demons from completely resurrecting the demons. Giant beast nest? Where is it? I gasped. Although I felt a little hairy in my heart, it was more of a burning fighting spirit. After absorbing the high-purity dark magic crystal, I felt so strong that I could find an opponent to try it out immediately. The nest is at the deepest part of the magic crystal forest, and even further inside the forbidden land. Lin Lang's eyebrows were filled with a low voice. That place was the core of the ancient demons sealed 1,000 years ago. The power of darkness was enough to swallow people alive. Since Jahan dared to take action, he probably had any backup plans. You have to prepare yourself mentally. You may not be able to come back if you go. You have to go if you can't come back. I gritted my teeth. My brain was full of the village's demeanor and Jahan's face that deserved to be beaten. Don't worry, I will definitely get this done. Brother, I'll accompany you. Su Feng patted my shoulder, grinned, and took out a few newly cranked elemental stones from the bag. We are in charge, no matter whether he is a demon or a Jahan, just do it. Lin Lang looked at us and finally clicked the head, took out a broken map from the corner of the wall, marking a winding road on it, pointing directly to the depths of the forest. This is the way to the nest. Be careful on the road, so I won't follow you anymore. The old bones can't stay in the trench. But remember that the will of the demon is best at invading the mind. Don't be controlled by it, otherwise you will be done. I took the map and looked at Su Feng. Without talking anymore, I put on my magic sword on my back, carrying a body of wounds and fatigue, and suddenly came to the giant nest at night. The road deep in the forest is getting harder and harder, and the dark air in the air is so heavy that it makes people breathless. There are low roars everywhere, like evil spirits in the deep earth saying a gentle word. I held the handle of the sword, and although there was pressure in my heart, I was more excited. This battle may be the key to my rise against the will of heaven. After walking for a whole day and night, we finally arrived at the location of the map mark. In front of me was a huge black mountain, and the mountain seemed to be torn apart by something, revealing a deep and invisible rift. The black air is rolling in the rift valley, and you can see some ancient runes flashing in the black air, emitting a creepy sense of pressure. In the deep part of the rift, a deep roar came from the sound, and each sound seemed to hit my heart directly, making my legs a little soft. Both groove, is this the giant nest? I swallowed, and felt the dark power in my body was restless, as if I was being attracted by something. That's right, this breath, the will of the ancient demons was indeed awakened partly. Su Feng's face was solemn, holding a shining elemental stone in his hand, illuminating the surroundings. Haoyu, we have to be careful. Shahan's guy probably has arrived a long time ago, and he might be making a fool of himself. Be careful, go in and fuck him. I gritted my teeth and felt a little bulging in my heart, but I was never soft on my mouth. The sound of the shadows echoed in my brain, carrying a rare urge. Boy, don't urge, the dark power here can't be suppressed. If you are invaded by the will of the demon, I can't save you. Listen, stay awake, and don't let hatred dizzy. I sniffed my head, took a deep breath, and stepped into the rift with Su Feng. The light in the rift was almost zero, and the black air was lying around us like a living, and I could hear some strange rustic words, like someone was talking in my ears and trying to draw pictures into my brain. I bit my teeth tightly, pressed these thoughts, and walked forward step by step with the magic sword. After about half a minute of walking, a huge cave suddenly appeared deep in the rift valley. There was a broken sacrificial fort in the middle of the cave. On the sacrificial fort, a huge dark crystal core floated on it, and it seemed like something terrifying was sealed. The breath emitted made my heartbeat almost stop. Around the sacrificial priest, several figures wearing black robes were busy, obviously from the elemental sect, and the one standing in the middle was Shahan. Yi, Haoyu, you really dare to die. Shahan turned over, with a cold smile on his face, holding a long sword with blue light in his hand, and there were a few strange weapons on his body, as if he was performing some ritual. I thought you had been gnawed clean by the demons in the forest, and I didn't expect to jump here. Shahan, your mother is looking for death. As soon as I saw him, the fire in my brain was burning, and I wished I could rush over and chop him immediately. I have been able to bear the hatred of the village and the challenge of this guy again and again. Looking for death? A joke. Shahan sneered and pointed to the dark crystal core on the fort. This is the core of the will of the ancient demon. As long as I absorb its power, the entire vast land must kneel under my feet. Are you too garbage worthy of a good thing that hurts me? Absorb? You're crazy. Su Feng growled and angry in his voice. If the ancient demons completely resurrected Su, the entire capital would be ruined. Do you think you can control that monster? Control? No need to control. Shahan's eyes flashed with a crazy look. I just need to use its power to wipe out all your stubborn guys. Haoyu, today is your death. After saying that, with a swing of his hand, several men in black robes immediately rushed over. The weapons and elemental stones in his hand moved, and the firelight, ice blades, and thunder and electricity formed an attack network and headed straight for us. I gritted my teeth and slammed, dodged an ice blade, and at the same time heard the shadows roar, used the dark blade to tear off their defense. I growled and slapped the sword. Several black dramas flew out, slashing directly at the men in black robe in front with the broken sound. They couldn't react in time and were directly flying by the sword, and fell to the ground without any silence. But with more attacks, I couldn't breathe at all, so I could only dodge and counterattack. I was quickly scratched and blood flowed out. Haoyu, then. Su Feng suddenly threw a blue elemental stone and shouted, "This is a water elemental stone, which can increase speed and rush over, don't be surrounded." I caught the stone and felt a clear force dripping into my body. The speed under my feet was indeed faster. I gritted my teeth and rushed out of the circle, heading straight towards Shahan, with only one thought in my heart, to overthrow this guy and stop him from coming. But at this moment, the dark crystal core on the sacrificial fort suddenly swayed violently, and a low roar came from it, as if something was about to break out. Ha! Here it's coming. The will of ancient demons is finally about to completely revive. Jahan laughed, his face twisted, and quickly pushed to the fort, pressed his hand on the crystal core, trying to absorb the power inside. In an instant, a terrifying black air burst out from the crystal core, swallowing him directly. Several black-robed men carrying around were shocked and turned into a pile of dry bones. Collection, what's going on? I was stunned for a moment, and my pace stopped. Su Feng's face also changed drastically and said in a low voice, "No, this guy really woke up the will of the demon. We have to stop it tightly, otherwise it will be all over." But before we could react, the dark air suddenly scattered, revealing Jahan's figure. No, he should be said, he no longer looks like a human being. Half of his body was invaded by black air, and strange pieces and sharp claws grew. His eyes turned into blood and red, emitting a terrifying sense of pressure, like a half-human and half-black monster. Even his voice became low and sandy, carrying an inhuman feeling. "Haoyu, I have become stronger, you all have to die." "What's this, mother?" My heart tightened, and my hands were shaking, but my mouth was still hard. What if I turned into a monster? "I'll chop you as if it were." Jahan, or this half-human and half-black monster, roared and rushed towards me, so fast that I could hardly see clearly. His claws slammed, and a black gas ripped through the ground and ran straight towards me. I instinctively used the sword to slam the air, but my chest was still shaken by the waves, and my feet stumbled back a few steps. "Haoyu, be careful, this guy has swallowed some of his soul by the demon's will, and his combat strength has increased dramatically." Su Feng shouted loudly, threw out several flame stones, exploded a fire curtain, and forced himself to hold Jahan's next attack. "We have a joint force, otherwise we won't be able to stop. If you join forces, you are afraid that they will be bullshit." I gritted my teeth and snatched hard. The dark power in my body rushed wildly, and my brain was full of negative emotions. Anger, hatred, and fear were hindering my will like a flood. But I forced myself to suppress these emotions and growled, "Cryptocratic shock." In an instant, a huge black storm exploded from the sword, like a torrent of black, heading straight for Jahan with the power of destruction. The surrounding ground was shattered, and the stone walls of the cave were cracked, making the atmosphere scary. Su Feng also took the opportunity to throw out a few thunderstones. The lightning and my sword interacted together to form a destructive attack network. But Jahan just roared, and his black air swelled violently, and he resisted our joint force. Although there were a few more wounds on his body, his air did not decrease at all, but became even more violent. His bloody eyes stared at me and growled, "Haoyu, your power. I'm going to swallow it." After saying that, he suddenly rushed, his sharp claws carrying black air, and headed straight for my brain. I gritted my teeth and barely avoided it, but a blood mark was still scratched on my shoulder, which made me so much pain that I sucked my air. Su Feng threw out a few flame stones from the side and tried to convert them, but Jahan didn't care at all. He seemed to have completely lost his mind and just wanted to tear me apart. "Haoyu, this won't work. We have to find a way to break his defense." Su Feng gasped, his face was hard to see, and it was obviously almost limitless. "Break the defense? I'll try." I bit my teeth and suddenly flashed through the words that Lin Lang taught me: "The strongest part of the power of darkness is the chubby." I growled, clamped the magic sword, and tried to feel its will. At this moment, the sound of the shadows echoed in my brain, carrying a burst of excitement. "Boy, here. Your will and my power can finally be fully integrated. Let's open your mind and accept the final power of darkness." I closed my eyes and my brain was full of the village's tide, Su Feng's struggle, and his hatred for Jahan. These emotions turned into a flame, which made me completely relaxed. In an instant, an unprecedented force of darkness penetrated into my body, as if it had ignited every stubbornness of my body. I suddenly opened my eyes and felt like I was stolen and my bones were changed. The dark red gems on the magic sword burst out with dazzling light, and the sword body became deeper, as if it could swallow everything. Collection, is this the final shape? I held the sword tightly, feeling my whole body full of strength, and the air was shaking around me. Although the negative emotions in my brain are still there, I can no longer hinder my will, but instead become my fuel, making me stronger. Haoyu, awesome. Su Feng was stunned and shouted immediately, fuck him, let's go together. I grinned, lifted up the magic sword, and slapped Jahan hard. This time, the black drama was no longer a simple wave of shock, but turned into a huge spear of darkness, carrying no penetration power than Lanbi, and headed straight to Jahan's chest. Su Feng also threw out all the remaining elemental stones, and the fire, lightning, and water flow intertwined into an attack network. In conjunction with my dark spear, it formed a destructive joint attack. Roar! Jahan roared and tried to use black air to hit the picture, but this time his defense was finally torn open, and the spear of darkness pierced his chest directly, bringing out a piece of black blood. The attack of the elemental stone followed, causing his whole body to shatter. The wolf fell to the ground with a wolf, and his breath became most of the time. Mixed, you. Jahan tried to get up, his bloody eyes were full of resentment, but he obviously had no power to fight again. His body began to tremble, as if the demon will was leaving him, and the half-human and half-baby shape began to disintegrate, revealing a twisted human face. Jahan, this is what you asked for. I gasped and stood in front of him with a heavy blow. That hit just now not only recreated this guy, but also gave me a new understanding of my power. It turns out that I can really do this. Haoyu, don't be stunned, sacrifice. Su Feng shouted anxiously and pointed to the dark crystal core. The crystal core is still moving, and the black air is swelling, as if something even more terrifying will be revealed at any time. I clicked my head, dragged my tired body to the fortress, put on a magic sword, and prepared to seal this thing with the newly acquired power. The sound of the shadow sounded, carrying a burst of fatigue. Boy, I'm fucking well. I'll hand over the rest to me and use my sword to pierce the crystal core. I'll use the last power to reseal it. I gritted my teeth and slashed the sword into the crystal core. In an instant, a terrifying black air burst out, as if I was going to swallow me, but I was forced to retreat, and my brain was full of protection for the people around me. The black air roared around me for a moment, and was finally sucked in by the magic sword. The light of the crystal core gradually dimmed, and the roar slowly disappeared. Who had it done? I held the sword, panting like a dog, and my body was covered in sweat. Su Feng ran over, patted my shoulder, and grinned, brother, you are so bad. This battle is a blow. I smiled softly and looked at Jahan on the ground. He had completely recovered his human form, but his breath was as weak as if he would stop at any time, and his eyes were full of resentment. I glanced at him coldly, and without saying a word, I turned around and walked out of the cave with Su Feng. Behind him, the light from the dark crystal nucleus finally faded, and the pressure of the giant nest also disappeared. But I know that even though this battle won, it has not really ended. Although Jahan is recreated, the trouble of the elemental sect is still there, and the threat of ancient demons may also be reborn at any time. I held the magic sword tightly, felt the ultimate power I gained in my body, and a stronger fighting spirit ignited in my heart. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, I, Haoyu, will never retreat. Those who have hurt me, those who have tried to destroy this film, I have to step under my feet and become the real dark drama. Outside the cave, the wind of the forest blew over, bringing a clear sound, but far away, there was a low roar coming, as if indicating that a greater storm was coming. Su Feng and I walked out of the cave of the giant nest. After gasping for a few breaths, the ground under our feet suddenly trembled violently, as if something terrifying was about to break out of the ground. In the far Black Mountain Rift Valley, black air burst out wildly. With a shocking roar, the entire magic crystal forest seemed to be torn apart by this force. The trees collapsed in pieces, and the birds fled in panic. Bottle, what's going on? I gritted my teeth and stood firm, holding the magic sword tightly, and my heart was full of hair. It was just now that the dark crystal core had been sealed. How could it still be so static? Haoyu, no! Su Feng's face turned blue and pointed to the direction of the rift. That black air is more heavy than it was. The will of the ancient demons was probably completely awakened by Jahan's guy. We sealed it too late, it has already broken through the shroud. Breakthrough? What should I do now? My heart beat faster, and I felt the dark power in my body was also restless, as if I was being attracted by something. The dark red stone on the magic drama was shining with dazzling light, and the sound of the shadows rose in my brain, carrying an unprecedented solemnity. Boy, be prepared, I'm really going to die this time. The ancient demons were completely revived, and I was not sure that I could suppress it. If you didn't realize this, you would still be able to run now. Run? Run away. I bit my teeth tightly, my brain full of the village's worries, and the twisted face of Kaijahan. I finally got to this point. How could I retreat? No matter whether it is a magic or something, come and do one. Brother, you're good. Sufeng patted my shoulder, grinned, took out the last few elemental stones from the bag, his eyes full of determination. Let's work together, let's overturn this monster and guard this vast land. As the voice fell, the black gas deep in the rift suddenly condensed into a huge figure, which was hundreds of meters high, covered with black armor, with several sharp thorns on its head, and the eyes were like two blood-red purses. Just a glance made people's skin numb. Roar ancient magic roared, and the sound seemed to be directly diamonding into the brain, carrying a strong will, which instantly made my brain hurt and almost kneel down. Sufeng also gritted his teeth and sniffed, his face turned pale, and said in a low voice, Haoyu, this guy has too strong willpower. We must calm our minds first, otherwise we will be done without the fight. I clicked my head, closed my eyes, and recalled the method Lin Lang taught me in my brain, and forced the invading movement of the will. The magic sword shook slightly in my hand, and the sound of the shadow sounded again. Boy, don't be stunned. This monster has just returned to Su, and its body is not completely stable. Now it is the only opportunity. Use your ultimate power to tear its defense line. Extreme power? I opened my eyes quietly, held the handle tightly, and felt the dark power in my body as if it was boiling. All the power of the magic crystals I had absorbed before was stormed at this moment. I growled, okay, I'm fighting with you. Saying that, I suddenly raised the magic sword, the dark power in my body wildly gathered, and at the same time, in my mind appeared all the elemental powers of the magic crystals I had absorbed before: darkness, flame, lightning, water flow. These powers seemed to be pulled by something, all integrating into the sword body. The magic sword burst out with dazzling black light, the dark red gem like burning flames, and around the sword body even appeared countless elemental runes, emitting a destructive aura. Haoyu, awesome! Sufeng shouted loudly, while throwing out the last few element stones, fire, light, and lightning interweaving into an attack net, smashing towards the ancient magical beast, buying time for me. Ancient magical beast, go die for me. I growled lowly, swinging the sword fiercely at that huge figure. An unprecedented dark shockwave burst from the sword body, like a black flood, mixed with flame, lightning, and water flow powers, forming a destructive elemental spear, rushing straight to the magical beast's chest. The surrounding ground was instantly torn apart, the stone walls of the Rift Valley were shattered, the momentum terrifying as if it could pierce a hole in the sky. Roar! The ancient magical beast roared, its black energy surged, using its huge claws to slap hard at the elemental spear. The two forces collided, erupting in a harsh roar, the shockwave directly shaking me and Sufeng flying. I fell to the ground, my chest stuffy, almost spitting blood. Sufeng was no better, covering his arm as he stood up, his face ugly. Damn, this monster is too tough, even this move didn't break the defense. I gritted my teeth and crawled up, looking at the black energy-formed armor on the ancient magical beast, although my attack tore open a few cracks, but it quickly healed, as if completely unaffected. Its blood-red eyes stared deadly at me, letting out a low roar. Its huge claws suddenly swung, a black energy like a flood rushing towards me, so fast I couldn't dodge in time. Haoyu, be careful! Sufeng shouted loudly, throwing out a water element stone, barely forming a barrier, but it was instantly torn apart by the black energy. I gritted my teeth and rolled, barely dodging, but still swept by the aftermath. my shoulder scratched with a blood mark, hurting so much I sucked in cold air. Waste, what are you standing there for? Find its weak point. The shadow's voice roared in my mind, this monster is strong, but just resurrected, its core is not stable. Find the core, pierce it, otherwise you all will die here. Core? Where is it? I panted, my eyes fixed on the ancient magical beast, trying to find the flaw. But this guy was covered all over with black energy and scales, couldn't see where the weak point was. At that moment, the magical beast roared again, opening its huge mouth, shooting a black energy wave at us, the range so large we couldn't dodge. Haoyu, let's go all out. Su Feng gritted his teeth, pulling out the last lightning stone from his bag, throwing it out to explode a piece of lightning, barely weakening the energy wave's power. I took the chance to raise the magic sword, gathering the dark power again, forcefully slashing out a sword energy, colliding with the energy wave. The two forces confronted for a moment, finally exploding, and me and Su Feng were both shaken, flying by the shockwave, falling in a mess, covered in injuries. Huff, huff. This is too damn hard. I propped myself up with the sword, feeling like my whole body was about to fall apart, but the fire in my heart burned stronger. Can't lose, absolutely can't lose. The village's grudge, Su Feng's trust, and the safety of this continent, all pressed on my shoulders. How can I fall? Haoyu, look at that. Su Feng suddenly pointed at the magical beast's chest, his voice with a hint of excitement. Just now that strike tore open its black energy, there's a glowing point in the center of the chest, probably the core. I looked in the direction he pointed. Indeed, in the central chest of the magical beast, there was a faint dark purple light point, vaguely appearing in the black energy, like its heart, emitting an unstable fluctuation. My eyes lit up, hope ignited in my heart. Good, that's it. Su Feng, help me hold this guy, I'll find the chance for a one-hit kill. No problem, brother. Su Feng grinned, although covered in injuries, he still stubbornly stood up, pulling out the last flame stone, throwing it at the magical beast. Come on, beast, Grandpa will play with you. The flame stone exploded, burning the magical beast to roar, its attention drawn over, its huge claws slapping towards Su Feng. Su Feng agilely rolled, barely dodging, but still swept by the aftermath, spitting out a mouthful of blood. My heart tightened, but I also knew this was the only chance, gritting my teeth and rushing towards the magical beast, the dark power in my body wildly surging, the light on the magic sword growing stronger and stronger. Shadow, give me all my strength. I growled, completely relaxing the restrictions on the power of darkness in my brain. In an instant, a cold energy flowed into my body, as if it was shaking every stubborn body of my body, and even my bones were shaking. The negative emotions in my brain came like a flood, anger, hatred, and fear almost made me lose my mind, but I gritted my teeth and held me back, and there was only one thought in my brain: protection, destruction. Boy, you did a good job. The shadow's voice was filled with excitement. This is the ultimate dark magic, dark world. Use your will to control it. I suddenly opened my eyes and felt my whole body full of strength. The magic sword seemed to be integrated with me. The sword body burst out with black light, and countless elemental runes could be seen spiraling around. I growled, held the sword in both hands, and slashed hard at the core of the demon's chest. Go to die, monster. A huge black sword light burst out from the sword, like a sharp blade that could tear apart the heaven and earth, scattering all the elements and heading straight to the core of the demon's chest. Wherever the sword light passed, the ground was torn apart, the air was twisted, and the air was terrifying as if it could destroy everything. The demon seemed to sense the danger, and roared, and the black air on his body stormed, trying to resist, but this time its defense was finally torn open, and the sword light pierced its chest and hit the dark purple core. Roar! The demon let out a silence. The moment the core was shattered, the black air on his body scattered wildly, and the huge body began to disintegrate, as if it was swallowed by some force, turning into countless black fragments, dissipating in the air. At the same time, a powerful shock wave exploded from the core, directly shaking Su Feng and I. I fell to the ground, my body trembling, and I felt that the power in my body was being squeezed dry. Who had it done? I gasped and stood up with my sword. Looking at the place where the demon disappeared, I felt a sense of pleasure that I couldn't say. That hit just now, it was the most awesome time for me, and even the ancient demons were killed by me. Haoyu, your mother is too fierce. Sufeng also got up. Although he was full of injuries, his face was full of smiles. This battle has been blowing for 100 years. But before we could catch our breath, a slight cry suddenly came from where the magic disappeared. I looked closely and it turned out to be Jahan. Although this guy was recreated by us before, his soul was still attracted by the will of the demon and hid in the dark. At this moment, the demon beast collapsed, and he could not hide. His soul was swallowed by the collapsed power and roared unwillingly, "Haoyu, I hate you, I'm not willing." Hate? I hate you. I looked at him coldly without any sympathy. This guy was killed by himself, harming the village, harming countless people, and wanted to wake up the demon. Now that he ended up in this place, he was purely asking for help. With the last shout, Jahan's soul disappeared completely, leaving no trace left. And, it's all over. I let out a breath and felt the pressure on my whole body be removed. Sufeng walked over, patted my shoulder, and grinned, "Brother, you've done a pretty job. From today on, you'll be the hero of the mainland." Hero? Stop teasing, I'm just a broken person. I smiled bitterly and slammed his head, but I felt a sense of satisfaction that I couldn't say. It is better to be able to use your own strength to protect the people around you than any number. The rift gradually subsided, and the black air began to dissipate, and the sun shone through the gaps in the forest, shining on our bodies full of scars. I held the magic sword tightly and felt the stable dark force in my body. The sound of the shadow sounded, carrying a secret conviction. "Boy, I didn't expect you to really get to this point. From now on, you are the real dark sword master. I have no wrongdoing." I grinned, ignored it, and dragged my tired body with Sufeng and walked out of the rift. When I returned to Linlong's stone house, the old man was sitting at the door. When he saw us coming back, his eyes lit up. He stood up and leaned on a wooden stick, and smiled rarely. "Yeah, 2 little boys, I really did it. Haoyu, it seems that I didn't see the wrong person. Old, don't be up to you, it's almost gone." I curled my lips, but I still enjoyed it in my heart. Linlang hummed, walked up to me, patted my shoulder. "From today, you are the story of the mainland. However, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Don't think that this is over. Next, there are more things waiting for you." "What's the matter?" I was stunned, feeling that after a big battle, why did there be any further? "Reconstruction." Linlang glanced at me and pointed to the forest far away that was destroyed by the battle. "The remaining strength of the elemental sect needs to be cleared, the balance of the magic crystal stone must be restored, and some people must take care of the places affected by the will of the demons." I slapped my head, and although it sounded irritating, I had no idea what to do with it. What can be changed with your own strength? It sounds quite touching. Sufeng laughed and patted my shoulder. "Brother, don't worry, I'm here, let's do it together. In the future, we will build our own efforts and put all the troublesome guys down." Building power? It sounds good. I grinned and pointed. Linlang did not object, but just hummed, "If you lose your mind, I am only responsible for giving me some advice anyway, you can do the tricks yourself." A few months later, a new town rose from the ruins of the magic crystal forest, named Shadow City, becoming one of the most powerful forces in the mainland. Together with Sufeng and Linlang, I built this place into a shelter, not only taking in those who were destroyed by war, but also trained a new generation of elemental warriors to protect the peace in the mainland. The remaining strength of the elemental sect was cleaned up by us, and the balance of the magic crystal stone gradually recovered, and the entire mainland finally welcomed the long-standing Ning. I stood on the wall of the Shadow City, carrying a magical sword on my back, looking at the forests and mountains far away, and there was an indescribable staircase in my heart. From a broken boy to the current Dark Slayer, although it is a life-threatening death, every step is worth it. Sufeng walked over, holding a newly found magic crystal in his hand, and smiled and said, "Haoyu, Have you heard that there are magical beasts in the south? Do you want to practice the training? Practice? Okay, who are you afraid? I grinned and took the magic crystal, and felt the dark power in my body ignited again. No matter what challenges there are in the future, I, Haoyu, are ready to greet them anytime. Because I know that as long as there is this drama and brothers around me, there is nothing I can't hold on to in this large area. As the sun sets westward, a black ray of light over the sky of the Shadow City, as if it is foreshadowing the beginning of a new era. And my story will be forever spread in every corner of this mainland.